Hello, Backgammon friends. Welcome to my live stream number 168. I know it has been a while since the last live stream, and yes, I'm a little bit more excited than usual. And yeah, today I want to show you what I have developed starting in December last year. It's called the XG2ANKI Filter Builder. Yeah, but before we get into this, maybe let me briefly talk about two things I'm very proud of. One thing is that if you go to my website, you see here a link to the XG2ANKI article written by Joe Calvaruso in the Backgammon PrimeTime magazine. So this is the magazine of the US BGF, so the Backgammon Federation of the United States. And yeah, you can click here on this picture, then you get access to this article. And yeah, it's very nicely written, of course. Super proud of it that somebody cares for it, and special thanks goes also not only to Joe Calvaruso, obviously, who wrote this article, but also to Karen Davis, who made this possible and put all the strings together to make this happen. So shout out to Joe and Karen. And the second bigger XG2ANKI news is their new decks with a collaboration with a new partner, and nothing fewer than Galaxy's #1 and PMAB Grandmaster Level 2, Matt Cohn-Gaia, also from the United States. So he was working with Anki years ago. So way sooner than I started with Anki. And yeah, he shared his reference positions, divided into 3 different decks: Bear-offs, early game, and late hits. And yeah, you can check it out on the website, and you see there's a bigger description. This is all written by Matt. It took a lot of effort to make these decks even better. So yeah, check it out. So these are real reference positions, which means where Anki is really perfect for memorizing really things, not only studying but memorizing. Anyway, so today we will talk about the new tool, the XG2ANKI Filter Builder. Almost a year ago, let me just change here something that I can see the chat if someone is writing something. Yeah, almost a year ago, I did a live stream where I talked also a lot about filtering or searching in Anki, and also I showed more or less all the features. So the link you will find in the video description if you want to look at that. And we also talked there about filtering, but today we are going way deeper. So way more possibilities. And the good thing is, thanks to the new web tool, which is available free of charge for anybody, it will become a lot easier to filter. Okay, so what is the key idea? The key idea is studying multiple positions with a common theme is highly effective. So of course, XG2ANKI is already, or in general with Anki studying is super effective. But when it comes to Backgammon, so most of the time we don't want to memorize stuff like the reference positions maybe from MCG. But we study in general, and then of course it's way more effective when you get several positions of the same type. Yeah, and how do you get this? One possibility is, of course, you get some of the decks, for example, from Dirk on my side, where he already put the decks together with a common theme. That's one way to go. And the other way to go is if you already have lots of cards to do some filtering. And that's what we are talking about. And yeah, maybe let's go briefly into the features in Anki regarding to filtering. By the way, this presentation is divided into two parts. One is with this PowerPoint here, because there are so many things. If I would start with the site where the XG2ANKI Filter Builder is hosted, you will get overwhelmed because there's too much stuff. So it's better to start here to explain the different parts of the filter builder. Yes, in Anki you have two ways to go where you use filter. One is in the browse window, so it's some kind of explorer where you can browse through your Anki database. And the other possibility is filtered decks. We will come to both possibilities in a moment. What I can highly recommend when you want to start doing filtering or working with filtered decks. I know nobody likes to read manuals, but if you're really interested and want to dig a little bit deeper, there are 2 chapters in the online help. So when you are in your Anki application, you press F1 or go on help and click on guide. And there are 2 very interesting chapters regarding this topic. One is chapter 14 about searching. And by the way, this a link to this PowerPoint presentation is also included in the video description so that you can download it. And you also have these links available where you come directly to the online help. So one is chapter 14 searching, and the other one is chapter 13 about filter decks. So you get a lot more infos, but the basic things we will talk about here today during this live stream. By the way, if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat. I can see this chat window. Maybe I will not react immediately, but that was one of the main reasons why I decided to do a live stream and not a video recording, because maybe we can interact, even though I'm fully aware that this topic is really for a very, very small target audience. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit nerdy, but that's the way I am. Yeah, and here also in March last year, I did this the last live stream on this topic, and there you have this link again. Yeah, the browse window. Of course, the screenshots here are, since I'm a Windows user, from the Windows desktop application, but Apple users should find, or Linux users should find something very similar in their application. So this is the top of the Anki main window, which you see after you have started the application. And then there is in the middle of this bar or menu bar, there is this browse button. And if you click on that, you will see a bigger window will open up, the browse window, and there on the top there is this search or filter field where you can enter all kinds of filter definitions. So in the video 1 year ago in the live stream, I showed you how you put together your filters directly here by, for example, selecting some tags or whatever. And today we will not do that. So if you want to learn something about the basic features, I can highly recommend to watch the old video. And today the idea is that the new filter builder tool will create this this condition for us, and we just make a paste here in the filter field. Yeah, and then if you have entered your filter, you will see here a list of cards depending on your filter, of course. And if you think this filter was useful for you, you can save it here as saved searches, which means you make a right click on the saved searches line here, and then you click save current search. And then a small dialog will appear where you just have to enter the name of your filter or your saved search. And yeah, here's an example how it looks on my side. You see I have all kinds of filters already saved. And then, of course, you can just click on one and then use this filter again. So you can reuse the same filter. Yeah, so much for that. And this is one thing, the browse window, and the second feature in Anki is filtered text. So if you work with the browse window and then go to preview, you can go through these cards one after the other. And this may be a thing you want to do. But keep in mind that then you don't have any, you're not using this spaced repetition algorithm, but it may be the way to go. And the alternative is here to create filter decks. So you are doing the same thing. You create your filter in the browse window, or what I would recommend via the new filter builder tool. And then you create a filter deck. So you have in the main menu, on the main window, you have this menu entry tools. And there you have this menu item, create filter deck. Yeah, or shortcut F. Then this dialog here shows up to create your filter deck. Yeah, so you see how it looks per default, and now on the right side you see what I'm changing here. What I'm changing here for my training deck. So since a few months I changed my method a little bit. I'm just working with one training deck. One reason for me is, so maybe you can have the possibility or the option to do it differently, but you have to keep in mind, if you create a filter deck, then the cards will be temporarily removed from the original deck, and now they exist in the filter deck until you have gone through all the cards, and then till your filter deck is empty again. And for me, of course, this is not so practical, because if I want to update my download site and want to create all the decks again for uploading, then these cards would be missing. So I decided to work with only one filter deck, and then I just have to remember to empty this before I run the recreation of the decks and then the upload. But that's just me. So I give it the name training for me, and then you can, depending on your filter, you may have lots of cards, so you can limit it to what I'm working with at the moment is 25, but just use whatever you feel is right. Maybe it's a good idea to limit it to a number where you're able to finish it in a day or two, that you have the success that the deck is empty and you get some kind of positive feedback. Yes, I also use the option random. You can there are all kinds of different options, but for me, random is fine. And then you can either, you see on the middle, you see that this checkbox is selected here, which means that whatever you answer, so if it was an easy question or hard or whatever, it will influence the spaced algorithm spaced repetition algorithm, and so the history of the cards will change, or the learning history. At the moment, I have to be honest, I removed this check mark. And if you do that, you see that you have here, you can define what will happen when you press one of the 4 buttons that appear on the answer side, where you decide yeah, how hard or how easy the problem was for you. And yeah, so in my case, I'm working at the moment, these are all in seconds, which means here you see it on, so I just have to move here a little bit to the side, which means if I press the again button, the card will appear in 15 minutes. If I press the hard in 30 minutes, if I press good in 1 hour. And if I press the easy button, then it will be removed from the filter deck and go back to its original home base or home deck, so to speak. That's how I'm working at the moment. Yeah. So what was the idea of the filter builder? As I already told you, you can do a lot of filters you can do just with Anki. And once again, you can go to my old live stream and see how this works. And the thing, so there's 2 reasons to create this new tool. The first reason, and that was the original motivation to create this tool, that in Anki you can do something very cool, which is called, you can filter also with regex, which means regular expressions. I don't want to go too deep here, but this is a searching language, you can say. You have it in all kinds of program applications, but it's of course a little bit nerdy, and it's more or less a little bit programming, which is not everybody's cup of tea. And since the last stream with all these filters, if I would start now here how to do regex, I think I would lose the last soul that was following me here. So the idea was to use regex, where you can, for example, you can make a regex search on the XGID, which is one of the fields in my Anki cards. So you can search for patterns, for example. We'll see that very soon. So, for example, you can say I want all positions where one side has maybe a prime from the 8 to the 4 points, for example. Whatever. And this gives you more powerful possibilities for filtering, which you could do if you are able to do regex. You can do it, but it is a lot more work. And now is the idea just to enter the conditions, and then the regex will be created by the tool for you. So you can reach this this tool via this subdomain of XG2ANKI. So just FB for filterbuilder.xg2anki.de. One more thing, it's not the most important thing, but it's there is at the moment there is one URL parameter defined, which is called extra filter. So URL parameter is that after the usual domain you enter here, or URL, you can starting with a question mark, you can transfer parameters to the site. And in my case, there's only one defined, which is called extra filter. So if you instead of just entering fb.xg2anki.de, you can expand this with slash and then question mark. This means now starts the parameters and the name extra filter and then the equal sign, and then you can append a filter definition, which will always be appended whatever you later on do in the filter builder. So this may be useful. I know that some of you use Anki also for other in other areas, not just Backgammon, and maybe they have all their Backgammon stuff grouped in a way that they are all under the main deck Backgammon, and then under that the different kinds of decks. So you could do something like that. Or what I'm using here often is because in my database, of course, I have also a lot of customer data, which would be quite annoying if this would appear here. So I have here a definition which excludes some of the decks. So for example here, all under private. Anyway, you get the idea. Yeah, now it's getting a little bit more concrete. Yeah, this is where it all started. Yeah, this is should look like a Backgammon board, yeah, with the fields 1 to 24 and the bar. And yeah, you have in each cell you have 4 fields. So the field on the left is always the minimum number of checkers you want to define for that field. Then the field on the right is the maximum. So you can define something like I want on the midpoint between 3 and 5 checkers, for example. Then positions with 6 checkers or less than 3 would not appear, for example. Now you see where this is going. And the upper row is always for the top player. And the lower row here in green is always for the bottom player. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you will get used to it pretty soon. I omitted the labels because I thought it would just mess up the already very crowded screen. So yeah, that's the way it is. And if in a field there is -1, it means that this condition is undefined. So it could be checkers or not or whatever. There's just no condition. Yeah, if you by accident put in a bigger minimum value than maximum, then the program will just swap it. Makes sense. And if you do something like which is mutually exclusive, if you say on the 10 point there should be at least 2 checkers from the bottom player, and you enter here at least 3 checkers from the top player. Of course, this does not make sense. Then if you do this by accident, then the bottom player condition is applied or is valid. Other possibility would have been to give out display an error message, but that's the way I decided how it works. Yeah, since this can be pretty annoying to define several fields here for each field, maybe for data entries. I implemented the copy and paste feature, which means if you click with the right mouse button on a label, for example here like on the number 12 or on the bar, then this field will get the data of this field will get copied to the clipboard, so to speak. And then you see after copying it the number will be here changed and be displayed in italic letters. And then you can just click with the left button on some other points, and these 4 data fields will be transferred. So you can make here define one field, and if for example these 4 fields have the same conditions, you can just make a left click on the numbers on the labels 1, 2, 3, 4, and then very fast you can you have created your definition. Yeah, what I also implemented at the beginning, but I have to admit that I'm not using this feature at the moment because I think meanwhile for me it's so convenient to work with this method I have just explained that I don't need it. So the idea was that you make some kind of setup in XG and copy the XGID with Control Shift Z. Then you only copy the XGID to your clipboard, and then you enter it, and instead of defining it here. Anyway, you can try it out if it's something for you, but yeah, I think it's not really needed. But anyway, it's always good to have options. And yeah, you just copy it in XG, the XGID, set up your position or a part of the position. Yeah, we will have an example very soon in the live section. And then copy it here with Control C or Command C. And then you have some additional options here. You can define what should happen with the empty fields. Should they really be set to 0, or do you want to set them to -1, which means undefined? So anything can happen on this field where it is empty in XG. And yeah, can also say that an empty field should be 0 or 1. So it's another possibility. Then it will be set, if it's empty in XGID, it will be set to a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 1. Or you can also say if there are 2 checkers, this should not be exactly 2 checkers, it should be a minimum of 2. Then it will be set to a minimum 2 and maximum. We will use this feature in one of our examples later. And you can also decide that one side should be ignored. Anyway, if you're working with this later, which I somehow have my doubts, and you need some more options, just let me know. I'm always happy to expand and improve this feature. Same like with the Anki cards. And as I said, I started with this in December, just before Christmas, because I had some free time. And since then, I did a lot of small improvements, and yeah, and will keep on doing them. So then we have some general options you can select. You can define that you only want to have cube action cards or only checker play. You can define that you only want to have cards where it's in the middle, or only the cube's in the middle, or only when the bottom player or the top player owns the cube. You can define that you only want to have cards from unlimited play or only match play. And another option I added here, which I found out is quite useful, is if match play, then only before two away, because yeah, to avoid some automatic doubles or whatever. So usually you don't want them. It's more interesting to get the cube actions before two away. And last but not least, here on roll, you can define it's only the bottom player on roll, only on top, or if the bottom player definition is for the player on roll, which means if you have defined your pattern and the top layer is on roll in a card, it will be reversed. But I have not worked with this very much, because most of the time in these cards the bottom player is on roll, except maybe in personal decks when you were on the take pass side of a cube action, then it may be that the top player is or was on roll. Yeah, then let's talk another section here. Now it's getting a little bit more interesting. you have this they have this section which I called move filters. So there you have the possibility to check here only when the role is or contains. So which means you can enter a full role. For example, you only want to have it with 4, or you can just enter a part of it. For example, if you enter a 6, you will have all positions where the role is either 6, 6, 6, 5, 6, 4, 6, 3, 6, 2, or 6, 1. We will use this in one of the examples right after this presentation. Yeah, then these are all kinds of more or less random filters here, which I came up with, and I thought, this type of position is interesting. Can I create a filter where I get all positions that are similar or fits this theme? And yeah, what I found out, that for example, this stack and up here, this is when you have a checker in the outfield and already a heavy midpoint with 5 or more checkers, and then you have a role where you can lift this checker and hide it on the midpoint and stack it even more. And and stack and up is when you save your checker on the midpoint, and with the other half of the role you move your remaining back checker up, which is very often wrong, by the way, but you can try it out. So you have to be outboarded, and then it may be right, but usually in a stack and up position you should look for an alternative. Yeah, then you have the usual pick and pass, and then we come to one of my favorite topics where I'm almost getting mad about, is leaving the anchor, because it's so brutal. I studied it for a month now, and I'm still struggling with. And since I started studying it, I realized that in every match I have the impression that it comes up 2 or 3 times. So it's really interesting topic, and very, very highly recommended to study it, because usually if you make the wrong decision, it's not cheap. So here you can then decide leaving the anchor, 18, 20, 21, 22, and also the midpoint. And of course you can check here more than one box. Then you get a mixture of it. Then something, now it's getting really nerdy, but I tried some search on the score matrix patterns, and then I found some interesting things. Yeah, more of this very soon. Yeah, maybe I explain briefly. Mauritius flag is coming from the colors of the Mauritius flag. This means that it's 3 away, 4 away, you have a too good and pass. Then a 3 away, 5 away, it's double pass. A 3 away, 6 away is a double take, and a 3 away, 7 away is a no double take. This is quite interesting. I know it sounds super nerdy, and maybe the last one already has left the stream. But this is really nice, because there is a pretty easy rule. So if it's at a neutral score, let's say 7 away, 7 away, if it's close to in the too good range, so equity between 950 and let's say 1050, so it's slightly too good or slightly not good enough to play for too good, then you have this, usually have this Mauritius flag, which means at 3 away, 4 away, it's a good pass. 3 away, 5 away, double pass. 3 away, 6 away, double take, and 3 away, 7 away, no double take. I'm pretty sure that this has some value. And yeah, and there are some other patterns here. One of which with the dot here is what I learned from Dirk. You see it quite often that at 5 away, 7 away, the 7-8 player can take a lot more. So you often has this island on the score matrix on 5 away, 7 away, and all neighbor cells are different. So, and the same, of course, many players know, or tournament players know, these row at 5 away, that no matter if your opponent is leading or trailing, you can take quite a lot more when your opponent is 5 away. So finally, hi Klaus, nice to get this feedback. But still there's someone here. That's very good. Yeah, because I was a little bit, I would have done it anyway. But one of my students said, really, I don't think that more than 2 people in the world will be interested in this topic. So with 1 or 2 watchers, I'm already happy. Yeah, action done filters. What is that? This you can only use with your personal decks, because in these decks there are the 2 fields, best action and action done, contain data, which usually if you have a deck, for example, from Dirk, these fields are empty. And of course, if you have these data, you can make some filter on it. For example, the missed hits and wrong hits. I'm just checking these data fields if one contains a star and the other one not, which means if best action contains a star and the action done not, there was a missed hit, and vice versa, it was a wrong hit. Well, that's very easy. Of course, you can all do this in Anki directly, but of course it's way easier to just click here and then you have your filter, instead of thinking about how can I program this in Anki. And the same here with doubles. Missed doubles, wrong takes. So you can, if you know that you often get punished for missed doubles, you can just click here, missed doubles, and you get all your missed doubles. Of course, this is not so interesting for quizzing, but for studying, because you know already the solution that it is a double. Well, if you want to train doubling, then you can check missed double and wrong doubles. Then you get all the positions where you have made an error on the doubling side, or if you click on wrong takes and wrong passes, you will get all your errors that you made on the take pass side. And there's also a field which I have just added this week, is an additional filter condition. It's somehow similar to the URL parameter extra filter I started with, but here you can enter any field. But the extra filter, if you do a refresh, it will always be there. You cannot remove it either, except when you change your URL and remove the parameter or change it. And this is maybe something you want to use for just one filter. And then you can enter here for example, here in my case, you have here deck double point and then my personal deck. And whatever you enter here, it will be saved in the list, and you can reuse it later. Okay, we are coming closer to the end of the presentation. And yeah, more and more people reacting in the chat. Hi, Volker. Hi, Thorsten. And hi, Stefan. Nice to have you here. Great. Yeah, here are some additional fields. This is super interesting. I have to admit, I have not done much with it, but here you can enter the number of wins. So if you want to practice, for example, whatever, with low wins, which means maybe takes with a lot of recube wick or whatever. So you can define for both players how many % min-max. So maybe from, say here, from 70 to 80 for the bottom player or whatever. Or, which may be even more interesting, with the gammons, including backgammons. So if you have issues with cube action, for example, with high Backgammon rates, then you can give me all the positions where the doubler has gammons between 40 and 50%, for example. And Yeah, maybe backgammons can also be interesting. It's quite rare that it's important for your cube decision, but who knows? Number of plots are experienced, but there is a little bit of an issue. You see this here in the command. The problem is that in the XGID there is no field for checkers off, only for the 24 fields and for the both bars, so to speak. Anyway, number of anchors might be interesting. That you say, I want at least the opponent has 3 anchors or 2 to 3 anchors or whatever. Number of backtrackers, number of homeboard points, number of points made. Pretty sure that you see with all these little things that the combination will give you really great opportunities to create interesting filters. Okay, then on the bottom of the page there will be list boxes. These are mostly tags which I create during runtime or which Dirk has created for his decks here on the right side. All his decks for 3rd, 4th, and 5th roll contain these decks, which he has created or added manually to the decks. You can use it for filtering. Yeah, there's position type. I would often use this position type opening, for example. The make point. So usually, if you select more than one, it's combined with or, except when it's mentioned here. So for example, here you could select 5 point and 20 point to create all these decks, all these positions where you can choose between making opponent's 5 point or your own 5 point. Or you could here enter the score because you realize that you're often making errors for way 2 away, that you could check here or select 4 away and 2 away for the opponent, for example, for the doubling side, or vice versa. Or you could want to study your biggest mistakes, if you have your personal decks. Then you can check here this range. For example, you only want to see 400 or higher. Then you would click here on 400, and the ones below with control click or command click if you're on Apple. And yeah, to just study the big things. Or volatility, if you realize that you're struggling with high volatility cubes, where you have a relatively low equity, but a lot of things is happening in the next sequence. So you can give me all your cube action where it's very high or extremely high. This could be interesting. And yeah, other stuff here, number of different moves. Here on the left, how many different best moves you have for neutral, DMP, gammon save, gammon go. So this could be very interesting, where the best move depends so highly on the match score. Or you could use here the one on the right. Then where at neutral score, where it depends when you have different best moves when the cube is in the middle, bottom, or top. So this could be very interesting to study checker play decisions depending on the cube position. So you see, endless possibilities. Yeah, live demo here coming. So it's getting really interesting. What will we discuss in the live part? And yeah, I will show you how you work with the position patterns, how you do copy and paste with the field definitions. I will show you how you use this XGID as a template. I saw that Klaus has asked for that. This will be the second example here in the live demo. So keep on watching. Then we have this kudos to Thorsten Lux, who invented this. This is a little bit of a wordplay in German. because the number 6 in German sounds the same as sex. So and this is meant if you roll a 6 from the bar, you very often have interesting checker play decisions how to play the 6 after entering with the lower number. This is Barsex. Then we have this, what I already explained, the Mauritius flag. So you see, it's not in the right order, but it's almost perfect. You see these 4 different colors in the score matrix. And then we make an example for leaving the anchor. I briefly show you how you can use DX tags for filtering and personal errors. Yeah, so much for the presentation. Now to the live part. Now it's getting really interesting. And yeah, you go to the filter builder. Here it is. You see it's a monster. And if I would have started with that, I think most of you would have dropped immediately. But I was clever enough to divide it into little chunks, so maybe more people. I could pull more people in, so to speak. Okay, what are we starting now? Just here the URL. You see this. You also have the link in the video description. You can just fb.xg2anki.de. And what I'm using here for my case is here this extra filter, which you don't need, just ignore it. So let's go to full mode. Yeah, let's create one example. So what I recently did, I often use this also for when I prepare for my own studies, but also for preparing lessons for my students, because of course the same thing that is way more effective if you have similar positions of the same type than just going through maybe to the errors one by one. Because yeah, if you study these positions type-wise, so to speak, then you will quickly make improvements, even though you don't get the explanations. Just by watching or getting the same problems over and over again presented. Okay, one of the ideas I had, I would like to practice when I have an early 4 prime in the opening, the cube action, because we all know that primes are very strong, give us higher winning chances, maybe not so much in gammon chances, but winning chances. So cube action early, if you get your 4 prime early, is often interesting. So let's say for the bottom player, now I'm going here on the 8 point, and I'm saying on the 8 point, maybe, yeah, this is quite flexible, but I want at minimum 2, otherwise it's not a part of a prime. And let's say whatever, 4 or 5, doesn't matter too much. So, and of course the top player we leave on -1, because as long as we have here more than 1 as minimum, it will not have any influence anyway. So now I make a right click on the 8 or on this, in this area here below the field. And you see now it changed to italic, which means the data of this field is now in the clipboard. And now I just click on 7 and you see zip, zip, 6 and 5. And so fast you have defined your 4 prime from the 8 to the 5. Now, if we would leave it like that, this would mean we would maybe also get some 5 primes or even 6 primes, because we have just defined we want 2 to 5 checkers on the 8, 7, 6 or 5. And 9 and 4 is not defined. So what do we have to do if we want exactly a 4 prime? We could do something like, for the 9 point, either we put it to 0 and maximum 0, which means it has to be empty, and maybe a checker from the top layer if you leave it to -1, or we put it to 1, which means it may be slotted, but definitely not another point. So if we leave it like that, this means we have 0 or 1 checker from the bottom player, or any number of checkers from the top player, because we have left these 2 fields here on -1. Okay, I make a right click because I'm lazy, and by clicking on the 4, I transfer this data to the 4 point. Okay, now we have defined a checker pattern, but we need some additional conditions. So we want only cube action. Yeah, we want to practice cube action. And view position, yeah, it will usually be in the middle, but anyway. If match, now I check this. If match play, then only score before 2-away, just to avoid this silly cube actions, maybe after Crawford or a 2-away, where you have a different strategy. And on roll, yes, we want only when the bottom player is on roll, just to be sure. And we only have defined this prime here. What I want to do now is I also say here on position type, I click on opening. Now, this is a tag I've created during the creation of the cards. It's one of the many tags. I don't know exactly how the condition was, but it works pretty well. Of course, it's everyone's own decision how he defines opening. All I know is that it's not so a good idea to make it on the move number, because sometimes you have prime versus prime even after 4 moves maybe. And yeah, so I think it was something like the 8 point must exist, the midpoint, both midpoints, and something like that, and not more than 3 points made or something like that. Anyway, it works for me. So now I think I have done all. And if you're ready, you click on copy. Then you get this message here. You can just ignore it, but it explains what you can do now. That you can now go to Anki and copy the filter condition, which you see here below. We don't go through this because we don't care. And this is now in your clipboard. And now you can click OK, and then we go to Anki. And we go on the browse window. And now we click here in the search. And with Control V, we just enter this. And now we see here on top, with this filter condition, we have 175 cards in my database here. And these are all listed here. And you can just click here on preview. And then we could go one after the other. So we see here, I will not make a practice session here today. We will just go quickly through it. And yeah, we see our definition. It looks like an opening. We have this 4 prime and yeah, whatever we want to do here. Yeah, maybe it's a double, because if it's high volatility, we have 14 hitters which are very strong. We have this anchor. Maybe it's a double take. I don't know. So here we click on it, and then we go to the next. And in this case, I got it right. So nothing happened when I click on it on the button, because we are in preview mode. We're not in learning mode. Yeah, and then usual stuff here. I will not go into details here. What we have. What nice features we have here. There are other videos which explain that. And then we could go via this arrow on the upper right. We could go to the next and go through it, whatever. So this is what we can do with via the browse window. And yeah. And the second option is, what I'm using at the moment is, I go here in the main window on Tools, and then on Create Filter Tag. And yeah, I have already one with training. Let's say let's call it practice, and then with Control V, I copy the filter is already still in the clipboard. And then you can decide here how many cards you want. So default is 100. I think it's a little bit long for a session, so I usually work with 25 or with 20, whatever feels right for you. Here I would recommend just selecting random. Nothing else for me makes here sense, but of course you can try out other options. And then you can either leave it like that, then, which means if you learn these cards, the history will be saved in the cards. What I'm doing at the moment, I remove this check. And then I enter here different values. For example, you're just defining what will happen with the card if you press one of the 4 buttons. And you can try out different options. These are the values I'm working with. So 15 minutes, 13 minutes, 60 minutes. And then if I click on easy, it will be removed from the filter deck and then go back to the original deck. Okay, then we click on build. And then you see you have here your deck. You see it's in blue, which means it's a filter deck. The other decks are in white. And you can study them like normal decks. Yeah. It's the same, absolute same behavior now as with if you have a normal deck, not a filter deck, but a standard deck. Yeah. So this looks pretty strong. Could also be a blitz. Maybe it's already double pass. I don't know. I checked double pass and I guessed it right. And yeah, now you have this answer buttons here. If I press again, if it was very hard for me and I got it wrong and I don't understand and whatever, I press on again, which means it would, according to my definition in the filter dialog, filter deck dialog, it will appear in 15 minutes. If I say it's hard, in 30, in 1 hour, if I press on good. And if I click on easy, it will be removed from the deck and go back to its original deck. That's filter deck. Highly recommend. Try it out. So next example, I want to show you, and also for Klaus, because he has asked for it, what can we do with an XGID or use it as a template. But I think I would not use it. Maybe if you have it, if I'm studying a position in XG and then I want to search something similar, maybe in that case it may be useful. I don't know. So the first thing we want to do is here we click on reset to remove all our previous entries here. And then we should start XG. I should have done this before. I didn't. So please give me a few seconds. Then I have to put it on the screen here. Okay, let's just try something different. Let's say we want a 5 prime. Checker play with prime versus prime. I could do something like that. And maybe something like that. And yeah, I will just make Control-Shift-C. This is important. If you just press Control-C for the normal copying, you have this X and O board and all kind of stuff. And if you press Control-Shift-C, just the XGID will be copied to your clipboard. So I'm doing this now. Control-Shift-C. And then we go to our filter builder. when I enter it here in the XGID field, and then I say init, then it would here, I have here my 5 prime, you see? The blue fields are already defined. On the lower side, you have 2 checkers. But this is not what we wanted, because now we would only get positions where we have exactly 2 checkers. But we are more interested in a 5 prime, no matter which spares. So I use one of the options. And next, also, what we don't like here, now we would have 0 checkers on the other fields that are not defined. And I guess we would get an empty result because, yeah, how can this work with 15 checkers for both sides? So we needed 5 checkers off, and both sides have their remaining 10 checkers on the 8 to the 4 point, which is not a realistic position. So what we first check here, treat empty points as undefined, which means it will be set to -1 instead of 0, which means anything can be on this point. And we choose the third checkbox here, treat 2 checkers on a point as minimum. So now we init again, and we see now it looks a little bit different. We have now 2 to 5 on 8 to 4 for both sides, and all our other fields are -1. So now we can decide if we want, like in the previous example, if we want to exclude 6 primes, then we would have to change the 9 and the 3 point to a minimum of 0 and maximum of 1. Not too important now for this case, I would say. Then let's say we want to study checker play, just for a change. So I click here on only checker play. And of course, we want both sides that the opponent has at least 1 checker behind the prime, otherwise it would not be prime versus prime. Now, for that, we use here number of back checkers. And let's say we don't want to have massive back games or things. Let's say we want 1 to 3, between 1 and 3 checkers for both sides as back checkers. That's it, I think. So we want positions with the 5 prime of both sides, and both sides have 1 to 3 checkers behind opponent's prime. We want only checker play. Yeah, let's see. Click on copy. And we go back to our browse window, and here go in the search on top and just press Ctrl V. And then let's scroll through it. That's the first position, and we see already it fits our idea what we want to get, right? Here black has a 5 prime, but that's 6 prime, but that's fine because we left the 3 point as undefined, so it could be a point or not for black. That was our decision. And yeah, let's just scroll through positions, but you will see you have the result. Here we can practice our prime versus prime checker play. So have I answered your question, Klaus, how you can use it? Yeah, so the idea was that maybe it's more convenient to do part of the work in XG, but to be honest, it was before I implemented this. Yes, Klaus, we can do that. This will be the next example. You are always one step ahead of me, but very good question. Yeah. Yeah, this was before I created or programmed this feature with the copy and paste with right click and then click, because I think this is so fast that for me, I see no reason to do part of the pattern definition in XG. And to be honest, I have not had the case in practice where I have a position in XG. Now I want to see something similar. Usually I have some ideas of position type and then start my thinking about how can I create a filter. Like what I mentioned, this stack and up filter or leaving the anchor. Yeah, let's see what the practice or the future will show. For me, yeah, I wanted to show you this feature, but for me, I want to be honest, I'm not using this, using XGID as a template at the moment. Okay, now we come to the Barsex example. Everybody was interested. Almost sounds like clickbait, but it's just playing a 6 from the bar because of the German wordplay, or because of the fact that in German 6 and the number 6 is in German 6, so you can it's pronounced pretty much 100% the same. Anyway, so what do we do? Let's close this here again and go back to the filter builder. Don't forget to go to reset, otherwise you might get confused if you just add new conditions and then it may not work. So what do we need for Barsex? We need the bottom player has exactly one checker on the bar. That's the point, right? He has to play and he's on the bar. So we need minimum 1, maximum 1. Then I think it's more interesting when both bar points are empty. Because if there is a checker of the opponent, we will usually hit. If there's one of our own checkers, we will usually anchor or make our own bar point. So I think we get more interesting positions when we say that the bar point has to be completely empty. And now, since I'm lazy, I just make a right click on the 7 or in the area around the 7. It's italic. And now I make a right click on the 18, and we have set these fields, 4 fields with 1 click. So, and another condition is I want to have the option to jump out to the 18, which is most of the time the case that this is one of the options. You enter with one number, and then you have a 6 to play, and one of the options is 24 to 18. And yeah, that's why we say we want for the bottom player 1 or 2. Maybe 1 is better, or 2. With 3, I think it makes no sense. It's clear that you want to jump out. But most of the cases, if it's, yeah, 2. We could make it with 1 to 1 or 1 to 2. Let's see what happens. And one of my favorite checks, I want to choose position type opening. Let's see. Let's go on copy. Ah, I forgot something. We have not defined that part of the role is a 6, right? So we have to click here by move filter, activate this checkbox, and then we just enter 6, which means one part of the role has to be 6. Then I go on copy and go to Anki, go on browse and Control V. And now let's see what we get. Preview. Well, this is the typical positions. You're on the bar, you enter, and then what do you do with the 6? Jump out or not, or whatever. And we go to the next. Just to prove that we have this type of positions that we were expecting. You know, we are still in the opening phase, and we have always this interesting choice where to play the 6, which is usually you have the options to opponent's bar point, which is more or less a default play. then to your own bar point. Sometimes you have the chance to hit here in the inner field, or you can jump out. Like here, you can play bar 16. So I hope this answered your questions, how to look for a specific role. Of course, you could also combine this with you want to practice specific doubles or whatever. You could use it for that. Not really. Okay, then answer. For checker play, you can define the number on the dice. Yeah, so I defined it. I defined it by entering here the 6. If I would have entered 6-1, I would only get positions where the dice roll is 6-1. Let's see if I can do that. So let's first see. Klaus has just copied an XGID. Let's see what he did send us. Okay, if I would enter this, the question is I have to change something here. Otherwise, it would only if I just do this. Let's see. We have it in the clipboard, and then let's first reset. Enter it here. Then we would see exactly this position. And this is highly unlikely that I have exactly this position in the database, you know? So this means I would have to change something here. We can try it just for the fun of it. I'm just copying it. Yeah, similar, but you have to define what is similar. Yeah. So for example, I would have to change here not 3 on the 6, but maybe between at least 3. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah? At least 2. Because otherwise you will get no result. Except it was so we can try this. We can try for all the fields at least. But here 5 on the 23, it's highly unlikely, you know. So I'm pretty sure it will still be an empty result, but we see. Yeah, no surprise. So the 5 we should have removed here at minimum 2, and maybe the 3 minimum 2. Let's see if we get a position like that. And also the problem is that we have now defined here 0 on the other fields, so I should at least try this. Treat empty fields as undefined to get some more possibilities. So let's init again. And then we change it maybe here to whatever. And here maybe 2 to 5. Question is, yeah. So you have to think about it. What does similar mean for you? So there's no AI involved here. So you have to define these rules on your own. Of course, if you would have AI behind this, you could show me something similar. But here you have to characterize on our own. So last try, and then I will go on. I hope you will not be offended, class, but I don't want to spend too long on that. Yeah, still empty. Anyway, try it out, and you have to yeah, maybe you choose a more typical position, or you change more here, whatever. Yeah, that was Barsex. Then we go to score matrix pattern. Yeah, I found this Mauritius flag I found very interesting, because I think it may be quite useful. So anyway, I go on reset, and now on score matrix patterns. So this examines the data field score matrix, and I click here on Mauritius flag for initial double. Then you will very soon see what I'm talking about. I go, so just one click. Well, this is quite a complicated filter. If you wanted to do that by entering it in Anki, but here it's just one click on the checkbox on copy, and we go to the browse window, paste it, and now let's check. Here I click now on backside only. Then we can scroll through, and now you see what I meant by the Mauritius flag. It's red, yellow, blue, green, blue. For 3 away, 4 away, 3 away, 5 away, 3 away, 6 away, 3 away, 7 away. That's what I discovered. And this is always when it's in the to good range. So either it is too good, but no, the error would be not more than 50, or it's not too good but close, like here. It's still a double, but it's only 45 millipoints away from too good, and a huge pass, let's say 300, 400. If you judge the position like that, and if you judge correctly, you have a very good chance to get the right cube action for this not easy cube action decisions at 3 away, 4 away, 3 away, 5 away, 3 away, 6 away, and 3 away, 7 away. I know there are many other things, but yeah, I think it's kind of easy to remember, because you have this 4-colored flag in your mind. Maybe you remember it in an important match and make a brilliant decision. Of course, if you got your initial estimation wrong, that it's not close to good or almost too good, and a clear pass, then yeah, the Mauritius flag will not save you. Okay, this was there's also a similar thing for redouble, but I will not go into that now, because it's nerdy enough already. Yeah, one of my favorite topics, don't forget to click on reset, is leaving the anchor. So you could choose one of these checkboxes here, or combine them. Let's say we click on 18 anchor or 20 anchor. So we should get all decisions. And here you don't even have to choose here only checker play, because this is already included here in this filter. So we really just need to select a checkbox to have the right filter, and go on copy. Go back to our browse window. Press return. And then you will get all kinds of leaving the anchor positions. Where you have either the 20 or the 18. And yeah, how is this done internally? I'm checking in the multiple choice list if there's one play that leaves the anchor, and at least one that doesn't, and then it yeah, that's the basic idea, the technique behind it, so to speak. And we can quickly go through it. You see, we will always have positions where you have either the 18 and the 20 anchor, and one of the options is leaving the anchor. Cool. Next example is Dirk's tags. I think we have explained it in other videos, or Dirk has explained it in his video, but let me briefly go into this. So don't forget to press reset before you enter your next filter, otherwise you might get confused. Yeah, so we go here to Dirk's tags, which are in this list box here on the left. And let's say you want to have positions slot versus split. So here you with control or command click, you can select additional. And this is one of the cases where it makes sense to combine them, which means there will only appear positions where the tag slot and the tag split is an option according to Dirk Schiemann, how he created the text. So that's it. You 2 clicks here and then go and copy. If you are into it, you can always check here what's really going on here behind the scenes, or copy it into an editor instead of into Anki and then take a closer look at it. But I think for most of you, it is important to know that it works. It just works, and you don't have to necessarily know how it works. That's when something doesn't work. It gets interesting how it works, or how it is defined and where the error is. So you get all kinds of positions here now where you have at least a splitting and a slotting option. Yeah, so the main idea was to make more complicated filters possible, because things like the score matrix pattern or the regex definitions on the XGID for the position patterns, if you want to do it, so to speak, by hand, it's yeah, you can do it, especially if you're an expert in regular expressions. You can look this up in the internet. There are tons of tutorials on that, and it's something, if you're a little bit an IT guy, you either know it already or it makes sense to learn it, because regex is part of many applications, and it can be very useful for searching in a very clever way, or you can do things which you could not do in a simple search bar. So now we get to the personal errors. Let's close the preview and go back to our filter builder. Don't forget to reset. So now let's see what Rainer has done wrong. So for this live stream, maybe we have some fun what shitty positions Rainer has took. So we click here on wrong takes. I think this will be the most funny ones. And here I now use this additional filter. You have to type it in or copy it from Anki one time, and then you can always select it when the field is empty and you click in the field. Let's go back again. Then you have this bigger list. So you will have all the entries that you have entered so far, and you can also remove it from the list by the X. And yeah, so in my case, I want to make sure that it's really only for my text, just to be sure, because it's no problem to put shame and annoy me, but I don't want to annoy anybody else. So this will just be appended to the filter, and let's see. We go on copy, and you see it already here that at the end is the filter condition deck double point and then the name of my deck. So now we should all see all kind of funny things. Maybe even the golden card, where I took for more than 2000 millipoint error. I don't know if you get so lucky to see it. So, and yeah, these are positions where I got something wrong. And so here you see that in this case, and there will always be, according to our filter, that the correct action is pass. And you see here for my match with the green check mark here that I took this one. Anyway, so you can now practice when you do this with your own data, you can yeah, study doubling or take passing in one session, or look only at your taking errors. You get the idea. This is, I think, very effective and way to do your practice and learn from your mistakes. So same, maybe last example with the typical error also for me is to hit or not to hit. If you have just studied Dirk's fantastic book To Hit or Not to Hit, don't forget to reset. And then yeah, you can choose here either missed hit or wrong hits or both. Of course, if you only choose one, it's for the quiz, it's not so interesting, because if you make missed hits, you will always get, that hitting is right. And if you want to practice hitting in general, you activate both and go on copy. Yeah, just to be sure, I want to add here my own deck. And by the way, maybe I forgot to mention it. If there's something already in this field, I just click into the field, press Control A or Command A for Apple users, and everything is selected, and then I can either paste directly, or I press the delete key first and then Control V. And now we will get funny positions where I messed it up, either hitting or not hitting. You already see in the multiple choice list that there are two options. And yeah, you see here I made a big blunder by hitting, and I should have chosen, I did make the ace point, which is a horrible move. And I should have played 13 to 7, 8 to 3. Okay, then I think you got the point, and I hope you are convinced how powerful, or more powerful, my Anki method will be if you have this use this kind of filters. Yeah, maybe one last thing. I saw recently a post on Facebook where they discussed positions doubling against a one-man back. And of course, I immediately thought, how can I get some practice positions? And I tried my filter builder. So doubling against one-man back, how does it look typically? Let's say we don't have any checkers on the bar for both sides. Okay, usually there's a one back checker, nothing else. And usually the midpoints are still there, which means the opponent has, let's say, 215. By the way, you can leave it on -1, then it will be set to 15. So if you just want to define the minimum, you can just do though, and the minus will be replaced in the maximum field by 15, and vice versa. If you say maximum of 5 checkers, you can just enter the maximum field with 5, and then leave the minimum field to -1. Then it will be set to 0. Yeah, but just to make it a little bit more transparent what I'm entering here, I will enter minimum and maximum, even though it's not necessary here. So, and the bottom player also has his midpoint. Don't forget, in each field, the lower numbers are for the bottom players and the upper numbers are for the top players. It may get a little bit confusing, but yeah, that's the way it is. And you have to be a little nerd, otherwise you will have not fun with it anyway. So okay, then let's also say we still have our 6 point, yeah. So midpoint and the 6 point of the bottom player. And the top player has his back checker, which means he has no checkers between 7 and 11. So we can have any kind of checkers here, let's say. So I copy this definition with a right click on the 7. And then I put it here. So which means on our outfield, the opponent has no checker. Makes sense for one man back. And we want to have a so-called what Mark Olsen defined as a defined, or coined as a defined position, which means that we have no back checkers for the attacking side. So this means I start here on 24. We have 0. We don't want to have any checker here. I copy this definition by making a right click in the area where the 24 label is. And then I copy it by a normal left click on all the fields here. Keep in mind, you don't have to do this every time. If you have your typical filters, you always save them as saved searches in Anki. So you can just reuse them. And you can, instead of entering all the stuff again, if you want to make a practice deck, you can go to your saved searches and copy the filter definition from there, maybe to create a filter deck. So this is a one-time thing for one type of position. So what do you want? Action type, you want cube action. Game type, I select again. I want to avoid two-away scores and post-Crawford doubling action. And only when the bottom player is on roll. That's important. And what we have not defined, that the opponent has exactly one back checker. So we go down here and we have here this nice number of back checkers. We go for the top player. We say exactly 1, which means minimum 1, maximum 1. Number of back checkers. So that should be it. Let's see if we get the desired results. We go on copy. And we go to our browse window, click here. With Control A, we select everything, and with Control V, and then enter. And now we go to preview, and we go quickly through it to see what kind of positions we get. We see we get all these typical one-man back doubling positions. So I think this is really cool stuff. And you can practice 1 or 2 days just doubling versus one-man back, which comes up a lot. So I think we already have here more than 1.5 hours. I think I have showed you everything that I wanted to. Now it's a good time to ask for any questions. I don't know if it's still... I never checked how many people are watching. Of course, I'm not Not expecting too many. But there were a few, I see. Okay, cool. Wow, around 15 on average. Cool. I did not expect that. So yeah, I wait a little bit. What else can I say in the meantime? Yeah, I will definitely work on this because yeah, almost every other day I get a new idea for a cool filter. I think there's already a lot of stuff which is really not just nerdy stuff. Maybe the score matrix pattern, you can say this is more a science thing, not really a practicing thing, you could argue. But the rest, the move filters, the action done filters with different doubling or taking errors, missed hits, and things like that. I think it has huge practical value, and especially the combination. So yeah, if you have other ideas, I'm always happy. So if I get new ideas which I think are cool, I usually implement them if they are technically possible with a reasonable amount of effort. I'm usually implementing them very fast. So if you have some crazy ideas, or if you think it would be cool, you could do that, or you have some filter ideas you think you are not able to do, then maybe I can explain you it's already possible and do it like this, that, and you have to do that, and it will work. Or I have to add some programming. Yeah, filtering makes a big difference, Stefan. Yeah, I always said this is the biggest part, yeah, where you can add the most amount of effectiveness to the Anki practice, because you really learn a lot if you study a few hours the same type of positions. That's really helpful. And yes, I know many say most of the Anki cards don't have any written comments or explanations. That would be cooler, of course. But I'm really convinced that if you study these similar types, or as you all know, if you're in a card, you can press on this copy XGID button, then the XGID will be copied to the clipboard and you can enter it into your XG and then create a variation to study more. So with these techniques, you can do a lot. Okay, I think there are no more questions, and I hope I did not forget anything important. Then I guess we can wrap it up. Yeah, final look into my nerd corner here, and yeah, I'm also trying to drink more liquid, non-alcoholics every day. So you can guess now if I'm so small or if the bottle is so big. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, I have this on my list for quite a while because after starting this project in December, I think already in January, I posted the link to some of my customers and friends, and most of them said, "Wow, looks interesting," but I have no idea what I should do with that. And so I hope that I could clear up the clouds at least a little bit, so that that you can at least try to do some filtering. And yeah, I think one of the ideas was to get this regex functionality, that we can use it without being a regex expert or without even knowing what regex is. And the other idea was that I have all filtering in one place. So that is the idea, that and that's how I will keep on working in this project in the future. That anytime I see I have to add something in Anki for filtering, I will try to expand here this filtering tool, that you don't have to do that. That you can create all your filter here only in the XG2ANKI Filter Builder, and you don't have to do anything else in Anki. Okay, so my greetings goes out, of course, to Hisayasu from Japan. Nice to have you here. Great friend of mine. I visited him in Japan last year, and I hope I can do so again next year. To go to Japan again, I can highly recommend it. Not $500,000 added, but a very nice place to be. So I would prefer this anytime. And yeah, greetings, of course, to Ahmed. Yeah, you can select now for our practice session tomorrow which filter we want to use. Yeah, then I think we wrap it up. I wish you all a nice Sunday. Here, Germany, it's now almost time to go to bed, almost 10 o'clock in the evening. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can always email me. You see my email address and in the header of the stream, and or you can create a comment on this YouTube video. Yeah, that's it for today. I wish you all the best. Don't forget, enjoy your life now. It will not get any better, I guess. So it's time to celebrate and enjoy, and especially with our wonderful hobby, Backgammon. I love you all. See you soon. Bye-bye.